There's been an incredible program underway at UNISA at the ZK Matthews Center, a 2-day summit, really. And we are joined by a voice you're familiar with in terms of political analysis. We don't hear as much of him as I would like, certainly, because, of course, he's also the chairperson of the Public Service Commission. And he's going to be speaking on a stellar lineup today that includes the President of the Republic, the Chief Justice, the former Public Protector, now Law Professor Thuli Madonsela, and others. Prof, it's been a moment. Thank you for talking to us today.
Thank you for inviting me, and greetings to you and your listeners.
It is International Anti-Corruption Day today. You're speaking at this anti-corruption summit. The cynic could dismiss it as just another talk shop, big men, big women speaking big words, when in fact corruption has become so endemic and entrenched in South Africa, and it seems the big words are not going to change it.
Certainly, that is why the tone from yesterday and the reason how we crafted this was meant not to be a big word kind of thing. The country itself is over-conferenced, it's over-workshopped. I don't think victims of corruption would be pacified by further talk. The concrete actions that we want out of this is the key thing. And more important, what emerged yesterday and is emerging is that you do have many institutions like your Chapter 9 law enforcement, but their actions are not coordinated to have a greater impact.
So what is going to come out from these 2 days, really, that is going to be a game changer?
The first thing which was agreed upon yesterday was to say, let this not be a one-day thing. Let there be a task team which we form from all these different organizations and a forum. And the main thing here is to say you do have law enforcement for those who have been found out in the reports. But the other two areas that we don't often pay much attention to are the reforms, the policy reforms. For example, professionalization of public service would break the backbone of those patronage networks where people are appointed because of loyalty instead of competence. And secondly, the issue of ethics and value-based governance, where you say what should be done from training institutions up to all different levels, integrity testing, and so forth, to promote those values, a new ethos for the public service. That in itself is key. So the whole ecosystem is being targeted, and we will emerge with a program that is not going to end with just one day, but it's beginning to create that network and programs for fighting corruption.
I've mentioned some of the speakers, but they also include, for example, Advocate Andy Mothibi from the Special Investigative Unit. You've got Advocate Andrea Johnson, who is the head of the Investigative Directorate at the National Prosecuting Authority. One of the things that I think most South Africans would also say is that whilst you may change the framework, whilst you may want to professionalize the public service, the really key issue is that corruption, it would appear, if you've got deep enough pockets, pays, because many who are involved seem to be getting away with it. Surely that's where we could arrest the slide.
It is for that reason that we have invited the Chief Justice as well to speak on the role of the judiciary, because it cannot be that access to justice and having deep pockets, you are able to keep justice at bay, especially when sometimes you are using the very ill-gotten funds to get the best lawyers, and then you take the system for years to get through to it. So those are some of the issues, and the law enforcement also is well aware of that. Perhaps the beginning of the asset forfeiture work, and as we were even talking about how to fund the whistleblowers who get inconvenienced and their lives devastated during this process.
Or even killed.
Or even killed. That's even worse. So those are some of the things that we're looking at. And the reason we said the head of each one of the three branches of government, it's important that they are present. and also all the Chapter 9 accountability institutions and law enforcement institutions should be present. It's precisely that of not leaving anything out. We understand the whole ecosystem and disrupt it.
Well, here's the uncomfortable one, or even the elephant in the room. The head of the executive arm of government now has a cloud hanging over his own head. He was on the verge of resigning just a week ago. Doesn't that sit uncomfortably that he is now going to be, possibly the keynote speaker this morning?
Unfortunately, being the head of the executive and the president of the country, whilst we are well aware of these developments and even law enforcement processes which are still underway, we couldn't do anything but to say, right from April, long before this, we are inviting all heads of these three branches of government. But the news we got yesterday is that NEC has called the president and the premier of Gauteng. They want them to be there at 9 o'clock. So they have indicated that there might be a clash of schedules. So we may not actually even see them today, which is a pity because we would have wanted everyone else, no matter how uncomfortable the topic might be, to be there so that there is commitment on the fight of corruption scourge.
And of course, if he can't make it, presumably then Deputy President Mabuza, who himself looks like is going to be charged, would be next?
He will be in the NEC, I suppose.
All right. That just goes to show the need for a conference like this, if those are some of the difficulties that will be faced. All right, so there's no guarantee the president nor the premier will be at this anti-corruption summit. Professor Somadoda Fikeni, we wish you luck. And one of these days, you and I must chat about your work at the Public Service Commission. I appreciate your time. That's the chair of the Public Service Commission. Well, there you have it. It looks like the president has withdrawn because of a scheduling conflict. And you've got to wonder how he was going to be bold-faced to address an anti-corruption summit with this cloud over his own head.
Current events, developing stories,
tough questions,
your voice making a difference.
This is Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa.